All right, we are here with a beautiful couple here in Bedford, Indiana. And who are you guys?
Well, I'm Bill Scoggan, the better half. I was born and raised right here in Bedford. Went to Shawswick, graduated from high school there, went in the military, then spent 32 and a half years in Washington, D.C. So don't hold that against me, please. I worked for the federal government. It was a good career, enjoyed it very much. Okay.
And I'm Nita Scoggan, and I worked at the Pentagon for 25 years, and I married the meanest boss I ever had. But I married him anyway.
Oh,
I admired Bill so much for his integrity and his wonderful character. I just respected and admired that so very much. And of course, he's good looking.
He's a handsome young man.
Yes, he certainly was.
Well, tell us about why I'm here today, because you guys have an amazing story and it involves you, Bill. Tell us about the story where he was stricken with a disease that a lot of Americans and quite frankly a lot of people around the world are dealing with, and he looks to be fine now. So tell us about that story.
Well, we left Washington, D.C., where we had lived for about 45 years of marriage, and we left because he was becoming very ill, and doctors didn't really pin it down in Virginia. But I'm a woman of prayer, and I felt like God was saying it was time to be with family. And we have 3 sons, and they're scattered around, all been in the military, 2 of them in Florida, 1 just outside Washington, D.C. And so I thought, well, gee, we could live with any of them, but what if they get transferred? We'd just have a big move for nothing.
Right.
So I said to Bill, honey, why don't we sell our home and give up our ministry at the White House and the Pentagon? We had Bible studies there at the Pentagon every week for people on staff.
Now, when was that? What years?
That was 1984 when I was invited to go.
Back in Reagan era.
In the Reagan era, and a very important woman on his staff contacted me because of my Bible study at the Pentagon that I had every day for over, well, altogether 20 years.
Wow.
On my lunch hour. And we just had hundreds of women that came to that Bible study and prayer at noon. But because when I met this woman, she knew of me and my Bible study. And she said, Nita, I've been wanting to start a Bible study at the White House in my office. And I said, wow, that'd be great. She said, well, we've got some Bible studies now, but I want one like yours, a dynamite Bible study. And I said, well, God's sure answering a lot of prayers. I guess that's dynamite. So I said, that's wonderful. It sure helps you get through a pressure cooker job.
Yeah.
And she said, I have friends from all over the United States that are in ministry, and they want to move to Washington just to lead this Bible study and have prayer. And I said, well, that would be just amazing. And they've asked me if they could come, and I said, no, it was my Bible. It wasn't mine, it was God. And I'm waiting for God to tell me who's going to be teaching it. And I said to myself, oh, wow, that's really spiritual. And she pointed her finger at me and she said, Nita, you're the woman God's chosen.
Wow.
I felt so inadequate. I said, oh, Carolyn, it was Carolyn Sunseth. I said, Carolyn, I just retired and Bill wants to travel and I'm not sure he'll want me to take anything else on. I'm still teaching every week at the Pentagon, but I'll tell him on the way home of your invitation. And if God really has chosen me, Bill will say, okay. Mm-hmm. So driving home that night after the prayer conference, I told Bill, and I said, honey, I feel so inadequate. I don't even have a wardrobe nice enough to wear to the White House. And those people spend more money on their earrings than I do on my whole outfit. And he said, you told God you'd go wherever he wanted you to go, and you'd do whatever he wanted you to do. Are you going to tell him no? I said, well, no, I guess I'll say yes. So I went for 2 weeks. And you know what happened? Jimmy, men kept coming. Now, mind you, I had had a woman's Bible study for 20 years. So I just said to them, "Oh, I'm sorry, this is a women's class, and so you guys won't be able to stay." You know what they said? "Well, this is Carolyn's office, and she invited us." I said, "Oh, I guess you can stay."
Oops.
I didn't feel comfortable teaching with the men there. So I asked Bill if he would go with me, and I said, "Honey, we'll be like Priscilla and Aquila.
Priscilla and Aquila, I like
We'll
that.
teach the word more perfectly." And
That's
he said,
cool.
"No way."
Mr. You Better Do It said no way.
And I said, "Well, honey, would you just go one time? Go with me today. And if the guys aren't there or you don't like it, I won't ask you again. But I just feel like God would like to have us be a team." So he said, "Okay, I'll go once, but if the guys aren't there." So that particular day, he went with me and kept going with me for the rest of the 15 years.
That's
and
cool.
we ended up having more men than women
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
attend the class. And they were so impressed with a married couple that seemed to be sweethearts. And so many said, "We've never met a couple quite like you. You really like each other."
Funny how that works.
Yeah. So anyway, that
So,
was,
so you left the White House and you left the federal government
and the Pentagon.
and the Pentagon and all of the work in Washington, D.C., which
Yeah.
I've only been a few times, but that city is wild. But you left there. What led you to Bedford, Indiana?
Well, I was born and raised right here.
Ah, so this is home for you.
Yes, in fact, I was born, I guess, maybe a mile from here.
Wow.
No, your
Came
brothers
from
and
a
sisters.
big family. There were 7 of us kids. So they're all still right here in the area, except one lives up in Columbus.
So they're all just down the road here.
There you go.
So we try to get together at least once a week and you go out to dinner, do something,
Sure.
just to continue our fellowship.
Absolutely. So tell us when the Alzheimer's began.
Well, actually, the first time he was diagnosed with it was not in Virginia where we lived, right outside Washington, D.C. But when we came here to Bedford, I didn't know any doctors, of course, and I just asked the family. So I went to one they recommended, and he examined Bill, and he said, "Mr. Scoggan, what can I do for you? Why are you here today?" And he said, "There's nothing wrong with me. My wife just told me I had to come." And so he examined him and talked to him, and he said, "Well, Mr. Scoggan, you have got an early stage of Alzheimer's, and I'm going to put you on a prescription. The bad news is there is no cure for Alzheimer's, and there's very little hope of recovery, but this prescription will help you live at home, and you may just be at home for years and not have any problems." So he put him on a prescription, and that was fine. And he was on there for months, and he didn't get any better. I went to another doctor, ended up taking him to 4 doctors, all said the same thing. No hope of recovery, no cure, just this prescription.
How'd that make you feel when you heard that
It
diagnosis?
was horrible. And our doctor, who turned out to be our family doctor, was the internist, and he's the one that we continue to see and still to today. And he said, "Well, Mrs. Scoggan," he said, "Mr. Scoggan is already in a pretty advanced stage." And here the other doctor said he was in an early stage.
Right.
But he could see the symptoms, and he had a lot of patients with Alzheimer's. And he said, "My advice is that you find a nursing home, start pricing them, go to a lawyer and get all the paperwork done while he can write his name."
Wow.
I said, "Write his name?" He's had over 100 people working for him at the Pentagon and at Defense Intelligence. He's had millions of dollars in budget work to take care of. How could he not remember how to sign his name? He said he won't remember his name, and he said, "Nita, he probably won't remember you." That just about made me cry.
Yeah.
But he said, "Now don't wait around that. Get the legal work done. Get yourself a lawyer that'll know about senior issues."
Right.
So I did that.